Welcome to the Directors Club podcast, your go-to resource for child care center owners and directors seeking success at their centers. Each week, we dive into the world of child care management, sharing valuable tips, tools, resources, and strategies to help you build enrollment, retain top teachers, and streamline your operations. With a casual and lighthearted approach, we tackle the challenges you face from staffing and enrollment to business skills and time management. Join us as we unlock the secrets to creating a thriving child care center. Let's laugh, learn, and grow together. This is the Directors Club podcast. Welcome to Season 2 of the Directors Club podcast, exclusively for child care center owners and directors. I'm Noelle Dentino, ex-corporate girl turned child care center owner. I took my corporate skills, paired with my sister's early education background, to create easy-to-implement business practices that have made our center, Scribble Time, a huge raging success in our community. And now I'm here to share with you business tips and tools to help you build enrollment, find and hire your next grade teacher, and get your center operating just how you want it. Let's do this. Hey there, it's Noelle from the Directors Club, and I'm so happy you joined me this week. I love connecting with child care center directors, and I'm seeing my podcast numbers go way up. So I'm hoping that I'm helping you leading your child care center. This week I'm really excited because I met Prerna Richards at the Leadership Lounge conference with Beth Cannon, and we really connected, and I have so much respect and admiration for what she does and how she supports child care centers across our amazing country. And so Prerna Richards is an international and national keynote speaker, social entrepreneur, coach, and consultant. She has been in the early education field for the past 36 years. Her professional journey has allowed her to work in so many different roles, including being a preschool teacher and a vice president of an early education division. A majority of her experience was in NACCE accredited and trauma-informed learning programs. She's a registered master-level trainer in the Texas Early Childhood Professional Development System, and most recently, she started her own consulting business, Together We Grow, providing professional development, coaching, and consulting for educators and individual families. She has a YouTube channel under the same business name. She is currently also working as a Texas Rising Star Assessor. She is deeply passionate about supporting the teachers who are providing care for our young learners. Every child deserves the best start in life that trained and prepared educators can provide. She's the winner of the Susan Hargrave Trainer of the Year Award from the Texas AEYC in October of 2020. When you listen to my talk with her, you're going to fall in love with Prerna and need to follow her Facebook page. Go check her out on togetherwegrow.com. I want you to know as we kick off this is I forgot to stop the recording, so we missed the first 20 seconds where I welcomed her and we connected. And so when you hear this, it's going to jump right into the first question I asked her. So I want you to know that I'm super happy to be sharing this content with you because one of the things as child care center directors that we have on our plates is helping our teachers in the classrooms. And this podcast is going to do just that and your connection with Prerna. So take a listen, and on the other side of this podcast, I'm going to share with you how I get my teachers to be more consistent implementing the practices we learn from specialists like Prerna. I'll talk to you soon.
Years, and I'm keeping track with how old my daughter is. That's how I'm keeping track of it. I started as a teacher director, been a program director overseeing 7 schools in Dallas, and then became a vice president of a division with a whole division on early childhood. And then most recently, 3.5 years ago, coming up to 4 very soon, I started my own business called Together We Grow. And really, when I first started in this 37 years ago, it was only because I was blessed with my daughters and I didn't want them to go to a school and have somebody else raise them. My original education in India was in interior design. And
Oh,
I know my husband's an architect. And so the plan was we would work together. And thank God that didn't happen.
yeah, exactly, right? Plan B is always better.
Yeah. And so it was very organic in my case, it was very natural. I started spending a lot of time volunteering in my daughter's nursery school in Scotland. And the teachers just sucked me in and they're like, Prerna, you're here all the time. Do you want to go get your nursery certification? I'm like, what is that? Sure, sign me up. And I'd found my passion. I could not stop learning about child development, brain development. And the more I learned, the more I wanted to go deeper with it.
I love that. I don't know if you know this, but I have my degree in speech and language pathology.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, and I graduated and did not like the field because it was so slow.
Mm.
And I was like, I'm a fast moving girl. So I'm like, oh, this is slow. I don't know if I want to get my master's. I went into investment banking for 13 years and absolutely loved it.
Huh.
And then I got laid off. And I was like, "What am I gonna do?" And I had a one-year-old, and I was like, "I wanna be with her more." I was trying to think of things, and my dad came up with the idea to
Hmm.
open up a childcare center because my sister had just graduated with her early ed degree. And
Wow.
yeah, and so I too fell into the field. So I love that
Yeah.
we have that in common because I can't imagine being in any other field now at my
No,
age.
me
I
neither.
love it. I love it.
Me too. This is a calling for me. It's not a profession, it's a calling for me. And I am so grateful that I get to live my calling and get to live my personal legend. I feel it in my bones so strongly that I'm here on this earth to help children and to help adults understand children. And it seems like that's a gift that God has given me. And I want to share. That's really what it is.
Well, that gave me chills because my daughter struggles. She's
Mm,
20 now, but she has diagnosed with ADHD, sensory
mm,
integration, all the things. She was so impulsive, and when I opened my childcare, I was like she was like the nightmare kid.
mm,
And I wish that I could do it over with her, like, now
mm,
that I know, like, I'm 18 years into it, and I wish I'd met someone like you,
mm.
because your breathing, that literally hit home with me. I was like, "That would have been such a great thing to have taught her back then." I'm just teaching her now that.
Yeah, yeah. The good news, Noel, even though she is in 18 or close to 20 now, yes, she is the type of child that my heart goes out to, that I want to help. And the thing is, it's never too late. The
Yes.
good news about the brain is that it's never too late. And they say 26 is when your brain is fully wired and fully developed. But here's what I've learned about it. The more I learn, the more I do, and the better I know, the better. The more,
Yes.
the better you do, is still applicable even to this day. Like, I'm constantly learning things about the brain, so it's never too late for you and your daughter.
Yes.
There's always hope.
Exactly, and I'll tell you that I'll share that her first night working at my childcare center, she came home to dinner, and she brought up this one child, and I was like I started to get, "Don't talk about his behavior because I know he's," and she goes, "So I tried, doing this with him, and I tried this technique with him, and I did all the things that I have been teaching her since she was 3," and I
Oh,
worked with counselors, and so it's so amazing to come full circle and see a
oh,
child that struggled and then connects with those kids like
yeah,
you and I do in the
yeah.
classrooms.
So,
So
yeah, my daughter, sorry, didn't mean to digress, but my
no.
daughter is also in education and she struggled as a learner. And
Oh,
she made a better teacher because she struggled comprehensionally, that there were gaps in her comprehension. And she
yes.
became a teacher because she wants to help other children who maybe are struggling with reading.
I love that. That's what I love about
Mhm,
education is coming across educators that struggled too and then can
mhm.
relate more to their students.
Yeah.
Love that. Why don't you share with our listeners the importance of breathing in the classroom?
Oh, I'm so happy you asked me that. That is
Love
my
it.
favorite topic to talk about. So here's what I want to tell people, that I think as most human beings, we are missing this link. And here's the thing, all of us are living in a very fast paced life right now. I don't know anybody who is living just cruising and just chilling. Most of
Mhm.
us have our plates full. Most of us have a buffet. We can't even find our plate anymore. Most
Yes,
of
that's a
us
good point.
Most of us have a lot on our tables, on our plates, on our buffets. And we are by nature very impatient. By nature, we are becoming really very stressed out, and we're living in a very reactive place. And this is not a judgment, this is just an observation that because life is so fast paced and because devices are consuming and they're moving at a very fast pace, our human brain was never designed to keep up with this pace. So breathing happens to be one of those absolute gems, secret, if you like, a hidden secret that most people are not tapping into. We're all going through life just shallow breathing. And once you understand the concept of deep breathing, you can't stop doing it enough. So here's what happens. And I know I shared this in the Leaders Lounge, but I want to share it with your listeners because
Good.
here's the research behind the breathing. Our brain has millions of neurons and it's all very tight, full of tension in our brain. Think of it like a rubber band. Think of it like the rubber band that you get for packing, the big long rubber band that you can put around parcels and packing. When you buy that rubber band, it's pretty tight, it's pretty taut, it doesn't stretch. When you start playing with it, if you're anything like me, if I get a rubber band in my hand, I'm stretching it, I'm playing with it. It's like this analogy just came to me because I play with rubber bands all the time. And so when you play with it, it becomes loose and becomes elastic. And then you can stretch it and you can put it around anything because it's really loose and flexible. That's what breathing does to our brain. When we do deep breathing throughout the day, brain goes from reacting to responding. We get more patient. By nature, we become less reactive, meaning we get less triggered, meaning we get less pushed by things that happen. By human nature, we have a really responsive in our judgment, in our opinions, in our words, in our actions. We are fast. We are fast people. We're fast things, fast paced. So breathing helps to center that. Breathing helps to slow it down. And quite often, this is one of the first things that I do when I start consulting with a program. Just put them on a breathing schedule. And anybody listening would say, Prerna, you're so silly. We all breathe. What are you talking about? Right? This sounds stupid. But it's not. It's when you add it to your schedule that you get at least 2 deep breaths. And every time you breathe, you take 3 deep breaths. So, really, if you have 2 breathing breaks in the morning before nap and 2 breathing breaks after nap, you are now getting 12 deep breaths because 4 times 3 is 12. 12 deep breaths throughout the day. And try it for a week. I've done this for so many schools now and so many teachers, and it never fails. Because I offer a coaching session every Friday. When they come back the next Friday, they'll be telling me, I can't believe that I reacted less. I can't believe that the children were listening to me more. I can't believe. I'm like, and what did you do? And they're like, I just started breathing. That's all I
I
did.
love I love that. I love that. That was that big takeaway too, and we're implementing that well at my child care center. That's yes, in one of our classrooms it has worked, and I see them doing it, like, because they'll all do it together, and I love watching that, and the classroom definitely has changed, which
See, even
yes,
you're adding to my research. See how
yes,
anecdotal this is? And if you can become a breathing program, so what does that mean? Anybody in the school can just say, let's take a brain break, let's take a breathing break. Start having teachers call it out, and whoever is available can just join in. So if you're doing center time and you hear this going on, let's do a brain break, then the teacher can put, 1 foot in the classroom, 1 foot in the hallway while she keeps an eye on her class, and the children breathe with the teachers. Just join in the breathing. We did this in our program in Dallas, and within a month, Noel, the behaviors, the intensity, and the frequency reduced so much that my teachers were like, are these the same kids? Are we the same people? It was powerful.
that's so great, especially now with the higher stress in the across all the
Yes.
centers. It's so great, and what a good skill for an adult to have too that hasn't ever done that.
Yes. Yes. To go through life and not get triggered with everything and not react with everything and just show up in a calm way is so powerful because we can really live our best life instead of just living from a space of being triggered with everything.
That's great. That's great. One of the things also that I loved about your consulting work is that You say that you support classrooms in being happy and challenge free. Can you tell me a success story of how that goes into action with you in your
Yeah,
classrooms?
yeah. This is actually not just a story, it's for real. It can happen to any classroom. I'll give you one specific example of a classroom that I was supporting, and the director had invited me in because she couldn't figure out why there were so many challenging behaviors in her preschool classroom. And she's, I have a lovely teacher. She's so kind. She's so caring. She's been with me forever. But I just don't understand why she's having so many behavior issues in her classroom. And so I did an observation and then I started working with her. Okay, I'm going to describe this teacher and maybe somebody listening can relate to it. So I'll give her a name. This is not her name, so don't go
Yeah.
looking for her. Her name is Jessica. Jessica is a lovely teacher in her 20s. She is caring, she's kind, she's sweet, she has a soft voice. And here's what I noticed in her classroom. She finished her circle time. She was asking tons of questions. Her children were engaged. She only has 12 children. They're 3.5 and 4, and mostly they're boys. So actually, she had 10 boys and 2 girls. There was only 2 girls in this classroom. And this is what I noticed right after circle time. She released them into center time, and she, on her schedule, had 45 minutes for center time. And she had 2 people go to every center. The children picked their centers. They were there. They were engaged. But then she put a timer on, and I was not expecting that. So during her free play, she put the timer on, and after 10 minutes, the children were asked to clean up and go to a different center, and they had to pick the centers. In the block center, there were the two, one was a girl, Jasmine and Brooke were the 2 kids in the block area. And they had built this big structure, and they were not ready to clean up and not ready to move. And the teacher, Jessica, said, no, it's time to pick up another center. And they were just like, we don't want to. We don't want to clean up. They were
Yeah.
clearly engaged and they were clearly playing. And so she did this 3 times. So during her 45 minutes, she changed the timer 3 times and she got pushback. Sometimes children would be engaged in play and sometimes they couldn't get re-engaged in play. And so she kept walking around. And so her role was walking around and checking on everybody because she had attended a training that said, talk to the kids, walk around. So she was doing everything that she'd been taught. And so she would walk around and she would say, what are you doing? What are you doing? And some kids would tell her, some kids wouldn't tell her. So that was happening. The other thing I noticed was that when children were taking toys from one center to another center, for example, this little boy, Brooke, who had left the block area, who wasn't ready to leave the block area, picked up a bucket of cars and took it to the manipulatives. And she said, now, where do the cars belong? And he was like, didn't remember, but then she reminded him the cars belong in the block, so she put it back. All this to say that she was policing and controlling the classroom.
Yes, I've seen that.
Okay, so that is a recipe for pushback. 100% that's a recipe for pushback. Why? Because we have classroom management strategies to support the teachers. But what this classroom is doing is, because she's limiting the number of children in every center, and I'm all for limiting the number of children in the center, but if there's no issues, then let them play.
Yes.
Those are strategies to redirect them if there's a problem. So the children that were building very creatively in the block area, who had to put away their structure and they were not ready to put away their structure because they were in the middle of creating their play. And I think at the debrief afterwards, when I finished it, I was talking to her director and I said some of these examples to her and she said, oh my God, that is making so much sense. Now I understand why the kids are pushing back. So we went from that to talking with the teacher. And one of the sentences I heard her say was, I have to check on all the children. And I said, how about if you reframe that? Instead of going to the children and saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? I don't know about you, Noel, but if I am doing something and somebody keeps asking me, what am I doing? What am I doing? I might slap somebody. Like,
Exactly, annoying.
get out of my face. I'm doing
Yeah.
something. Get out of my face. Instead, and she said, well, what could I ask them? I said, okay, good. I'm glad you're asking. Instead of saying, what are you doing? Slow down, sit down with them, make eye contact, and say, that looks interesting. Tell me more. Now I'm opening up the conversation without walking around like a policeman. And just, I don't need to walk around like a policeman. Police is not what I joined. Early childhood is what I joined, right?
Yes,
So I don't need to police my room. Go from controlling to connecting. The more we connect, the less we correct. People forget this. The more we connect, the less we correct. And so use the center time to connect with the children, join the play, unless you really need to get up and navigate or redirect because there's a problem. Let the children play. And so this was one of the things that we did in our coaching classroom, like coaching session back with her. And it took some work for her to change her habit, but I was coaching her through it. And after a month, just a month, with me going once a week in her classroom and navigating, slightly tweaking it. Okay, I see that you're making an effort, keep going. The classroom went from pushbacks to a happy, joyful, engaged learning space.
that's awesome. I love that story.
It's so simple. Some of it is self created, some of it is coming from the teacher's need to control because teachers feel like I am being a good teacher when I am controlling. You're not. You should think of yourself as a stage director. Your job is to put the props on the stage when the actors, which are your children, when they come on, the stage director is not on the stage. You've created the environment, let them explore, let them experience. They will take it on.
I love that example. I even take a step back from this whole thing and see what kind of wording I can use as a director
Mm,
when I'm onboarding my staff or at my staff meetings when we're talking about, because at my staff meetings we'll talk about where we're struggling in each of the rooms and we brainstorm,
mm.
but sit and think of the wording because I always say instead of policing, I'm like, oh, you're not in there supervising, you're teaching. And but I like that policing because that kind of is more what
Mm.
they're doing. That's such a
Good.
great story. I love sharing that.
You mentioned words for your teachers. If you are hearing any teacher saying my classroom, change
Yes.
it to our classroom.
Okay.
When children feel like they belong, when children feel connected, so going from mine to ours, words are powerful. This is our classroom. How do we take care of our things? Quite often I'll hear teachers put my things back, don't touch my things, this is my classroom. It is not. If you're going to have the mentality, it's my classroom, then go be your own classroom because nobody is collaborating in your
Exactly.
classroom.
That's such a great point and so true. I love that. So tell me, what should a director do if a challenging behavior just continues in a certain classroom and they feel they have used all the tools that they have in their belt and the teachers are still stressed out?
Okay, good point. So this is not unique. This is happening many places. There are lovely directors who have a lovely team and they want to support them. I would start with the basics. Do your teachers know about brain development? Do your
Yeah.
teachers understand brain states? Do your teachers understand what behaviors are associated with the brain states? If not, then get a professional development for them so that they can get a better understanding. When you do better, when you better, right? It's connected.
Correct.
And
Correct.
many of us, and guess what? We started this conversation earlier with our daughters. My daughters are in their 30s. I did not know any of this when they were little. I wish I did.
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here.
But here's the really amazing news. As many times as I talk about the brain, there are so many people who are still sitting in the space of, I had no idea. I had no idea. So that's the first place. The teachers are getting stressed out because they're not understanding their own brain and the child's brain in front of them. So that's the first strategy. Support your teachers by giving them the knowledge and then support them through coaching so that they can apply that knowledge into the classroom. The second is environment plays a big role. And I'll give you some very specific examples of things that I've done in the classrooms that I've supported. The circle time carpet quite often has either it has some shape or it has some circles, and children are supposed to sit on those shapes and on those circles, right? We've all
Yeah.
seen the circle time carpet, or teachers are having assigned seating at the carpet with the masking tape names on them where children are supposed to sit, or there's a cushion or some assigned seating. Have you seen that?
Yes, I have seen it a
Okay.
lot.
Yeah. So the reason I bring that up is because one of the programs that I was working with, part of that controlled environment and controlled teacher environment is having assigned seating at the tables, at the carpet. This was one of the first changes that we did, along with everything else that we were doing, is changed out the carpet to just a plain carpet. There was nothing assigned on it. It was just a plain blue carpet. And guess what happened? When the children came to the circle time, normally the language, the reason I did this was because of the behavior I saw in the classroom.
Yes.
Uh, and the behavior is a form of communication. Don't forget that. Behavior is telling us what the children are struggling with. And so the children were like, "You're sitting in my space." This was happening. And that was the reason I said to the teacher, I said, "Let's go around your school and see if we can find just a plain carpet to swap it out for this week. This is an experiment. Let's just try it." We swapped out the circle carpet for a blue carpet that was in her gross motor area. And guess what happened? The children came to school on Monday, and there was nobody said, "You're in my space," because there was no assigned space. They came in, they're like, "Oh, we have a new carpet." And the kids like, "Yeah, we have a new carpet." And they're like, "Where are we going to sit?" And she said, "Wherever you want. I just want to see a circle." And they did. And guess what? There was no fighting on the circle because there was no assigned seating.
I love that. There was a choice.
Yes. But
Yes.
some of it we are creating in our environments, and we are creating it like we are herding cattle. Like, children are not cattle, and we cannot have them so confined and so forced. So, this was one example in an environment. The other example in an environment was, I'll give you two more.
Okay.
So these are all strategies that I put in the classrooms. One was the block area. So the block area was becoming a big issue. And again, I go back to behavior as a form of communication. I'll only suggest the strategy that's needed because that's the trouble that's happening in that classroom. I wouldn't just suggest everything. It's not like a buffet that I have to do everything. It's not a la carte. It's what do you need to fix in your classroom? And so the block area was becoming an issue. It was becoming aggressive play. It was not appropriate play. They were throwing blocks. It was becoming quite rough and quite loud. So here's the change that we did. While I was talking to the teacher, I was like, "Can you think of a way how we could rearrange your block area?" And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "What I'm noticing is that it's not being used properly. What do you think we can do?" Because in my coaching, I'm like really wanting the teacher to take the leadership role. It's not me coming to fix it.
I love that.
Yeah, my role is not to do it for you. This is your environment, what works for you. So I just want you to think outside the box. That's all I'm doing in my coaching. Think outside your box. So here's what she and her assistant came up with. They decided that they would rearrange their classroom and create the block area next to the dramatic area. And the way they would create it is they would just have one dividing shelf in between the blocks and the dramatic, and they would put another shelf in front of it. So it became like a boxed in area, but there was a flow between the two. Like there was a gap between the dramatic and the block. And another bookshelf, so enclosed it. Without enclosing it, she created the space. And guess what happened? Suddenly, the block play went into creative, imaginative space. The same kids. If I wish I could show you a picture of that because I took pictures of this. I wish I could share that with you. Within a week, and this was the other thing that was getting the pushback. Every time she would tell the kids, "It's clean up, it's clean up." They had worked very hard on a structure and they didn't want to put it away. And so I said to her, "Can you think of a time, or can you think of a way that you could allow the structure to stay? Does it have to be put away? Is that the written law that they have created this and it has to be taken down?" And she said, "We always clean up our toys before we go." And I said, "Okay, I understand that, but I just want you to reflect on this. Is it bothering anything or anybody? Or can you allow it to live there for the day?" And she said, "Well, maybe I could for the day." She took it further and she allowed the structure to stay for the week. Again, it's the same controlling classroom as Jessica's room, is where I was working. We remember when I started the stories, there was only two children allowed in a center, and they were shifting every 30 minutes, 10 minutes with this timer going on. Well, by the end of the week, she allowed them to free flow and free play. And guess what happened? The block area and the dramatic area, all 10, 12 of them congregated, but nobody was fighting. There was no issues. And they created such amazing structure, and they added to it every day. and they came running into the classroom with joy and excitement. I have an idea. We're going to make a bridge. Who's going to paint this? And there was like this excitement happening. It went math and technology and science, and everything was happening in the block and dramatic. And she had the most calm classroom. And she was excited about what I have to share the picture with you. I don't know where you can share it in your podcast, but the picture is so powerful that the children were excited with their creation. They were looking forward to coming to school, and it didn't bother anybody. It was a independent classroom. It didn't bother anybody else. There was no other classroom affected. She just changed what she could in her classroom, allowing them the space to explore.
There's so many times that I have been coaching a teacher, or when my directors have been coaching a teacher, and we come out of the meeting and we're all have this aha moment of, you get so like regime onto the daily schedule, like gotta run through the schedule, everything has to be perfect, put away, get out, line up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we're more flexible, the classroom flow ends up being better. And
Yeah.
so that is such a great story to share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that really, you really can have joyful, happy environments. You really can.
Yes.
It's not a myth. It's real.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So this is all so amazing, all this information. So tell me, as your time owning Together We Grow, like what's your favorite success story?
I think my biggest success is when I see the teachers having the aha, and when I start seeing the directors engaging and supporting their teachers in a different way. That is what brings me the most joy, because these are people who are committed in this field. The director, the owner, the teacher, they're invested in this field. And if I could just support them, you were asking earlier, how can you as an owner and director support your teachers? One of the things that you can do in the moment, if there's behaviors happening in the classroom, right?
Yes.
It's really important that the children bond with the teacher. It's really important that the redirection comes from the teacher and not from the director, because otherwise then you're taking the power away from the teacher,
Yes.
because she's struggling and she needs to bridge that gap and she needs to get there. But what can you do as an owner and director, or whatever your title as an administrator might be, if you're hearing chaos and confusion and loud noises happening in a classroom? You could step in and you could allow that teacher to spend more one-on-one time with the child who's dysregulated and needs the most attention, or who's most aggressive, while you support the other teacher and the rest of the classroom. But this only works if you have a plan with the teacher ahead of time. So I'll give you an example. When I was a program director in Dallas, I was serving in a program that was very high risk and trauma informed schooling. That's really what the school was famous for. It was trauma informed. And my role would be, but we would have a plan with the teacher always ahead of time. So I would know that, okay, when this becomes like this, if she is in a circle area, if she's in a small group area, like if she's engaged with the children, then I would take the child out who's dysregulated for a walk around the building. We would go breathe, we could go touch the trees, we would go get some fresh air, and I would bring the child back after the child was regulated. And then I would hand the child over to the teacher, and I would step in where she was doing what she was doing. But if she was not in the circle area or not doing small group, then she would go with the child and I would step in her place.
Yes.
So, not to disrupt the flow. That's how you can support. The other thing your role can do is, I did this a lot in this school over there, is go with a notepad or go with pieces of paper that are blank. And when a child is very upset, the leader can just spend some time. Okay, I'm listening. Tell me everything that's going on. Tell me what's bothering you, and start documenting whatever the child is saying. Having an adult sit down and write what they're saying is so powerful for giving their voice validation. And a lot of the stress for the children comes is nobody's listening, nobody's seeing me, and nobody understands me. But when an adult can document, okay, tell me what you're saying. Okay, what happened? Okay, this happened, just whatever happened. It is absolutely game changing, and it reduces the stress in the classroom and in the child's brain, because they've suddenly been validated. Suddenly they're like, okay, this happened. Okay, yeah, you're upset. Okay, that was really hurtful. Oh, really wanted to take your toy away. Okay, tell me how that made you feel. Just that activity would slow things down. The
I
other
love
thing,
that.
yeah, the other thing I would tell you is, encourage your teachers to come from a play powered, become playful. Let me tell you more about that. Sometimes pushbacks happen during cleanup. Sometimes pushbacks happen because the noise level gets too loud. It's like very loud in the classroom and everybody's just like talking on top of each other. So puppets are having a puppet coming in, like a bird puppet or a butterfly puppet, and then just saying, oh, my ears are hurting, this butterfly is feeling very sad, let's reduce the volume. Do it in a playful manner. Like,
Yes.
you know, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but sometimes teachers confuse playful learning versus learning slash play. Like, play is this busy work that you just do while I'm doing important things. You just take care of some play, and then the learning will happen when I'm doing small group with you, or the learning will happen when I'm doing teacher directed stuff. But the rest of it, you just keep yourself busy. Is not true. Children learn through play.
Exactly.
So
That's
yeah, lean
great.
into play. Lean into the imaginative, creative play. Like, for example, the cleanup. I've done this with the children or the teachers, really. My coaching is with the teachers, not with the children. And okay, I'll tell them, think of a playful way. How can you get them to clean up? And this teacher, I always am just opening up the prompt. I'm not giving them the responses. But this teacher, she said, I heard her say this. There was cleanup, there was journal time. They were done with journals. They had to put the journals away. And she said, okay, pretend this is a very hot pizza. It's going to burn your hands. Walk very quickly and put it away so it doesn't burn your hand. And the children were like doing it, and they were toddlers. They
It
were
like
so
engages
excited.
them.
Yes,
So
it's fun.
engaging.
It's
Yes.
fun. But here's the other side. If the teachers are not having fun, the children are not going to have fun and learn. If you
Yeah,
have got to enjoy this, this has got to be joyful.
I agree. I agree. Those are great tips and great suggestions as our roles as directors to support our teachers in the classroom. So we all need you in our classrooms.
Yes, I would
We
love to do
do.
training for everybody. I would love to do training. I love to do coaching. Let's talk. Let's do this, because I really feel like so many schools don't know this basic stuff.
Exactly. I'm going to share your website in my show notes so that anyone that would love to work with her or jump on that weekly call that she has to get help for your classrooms that are struggling or to get teacher training. That's everyone's always looking for professional development. So I'll put that link in there so that
Thank
they can
you.
connect with you.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
I just want to thank you. I've loved meeting you this year. You're like one of the highlights of my year, you and Beth.
Oh,
I'm so excited to get to know both of you better.
oh,
And
thank
I
you.
appreciate you taking time out of your day to share with all the directors that listen to the podcast to help them support their teachers. And in the end, really just support kids in early
Yes.
education.
We're all supporting the same kids. We're all trying to make this world a better place for children. And whatever our role is, whatever our title is, let's reach as many children as we can to support them. Thank you, Noel, for this opportunity. I appreciate it. And yes, my website is togetherwegrow.online. I have a YouTube channel which has very few videos, but it's all on brain development. Together We Grow, you can find it on my website. Subscribe to it. And there are not many, and it was created during COVID. This was never my plan to have a YouTube channel. Goodness gracious.
Well, we're lucky that you created it.
Oh, you're sweet. Well, I would love to partner with anybody who needs PD or coaching or in person. Or yes, our teachers are burnt out and are stressed out. They're
Agree.
absorbing it.
Totally agree. Thank you so much. And it was nice connecting with you today.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Prerna. Seriously, what did I tell you? She is amazing. She has so many amazing ideas and her approach to things. I wish I'd met her and listened to her when I started this 18 years ago with my childcare center with my sister, because I didn't know anything about early education. And, along the way, you learn all these things. And I would have loved to have crossed paths with her before this. All right. So when I hear a training like this, like take, for instance, the breathing. That is something super easy and free we can all implement in our child care centers that will give a child a skill that they're going to have for the rest of their lives, right? Just like writing, just like gross motor and fine motor, all the things we do with the kids. Mental health is so important. And I loved how one of the things she said was, breathing helps regulate you and impulsivities. And can you imagine that skill set if we teach them at 2, 3, 4, how that can help the kids, especially the ones that are a little bit more impulsive than the other ones. So how I approach this with my team, I don't just like say, oh, go listen to her, like listen to this training. Or if you bring Prerna into your school or join one of her consulting programs that she has, the membership, you don't want to just buy the program and get the quick fix. You want to really make this a part of your program. And how you do that is you share the information with your team. So however you are going to decide to do that. Are they going to listen to one of her trainings? Is she going to come in? Are you going to share this podcast with your team? Whatever it is, you're going to do, you're going to share the information with your team, however you do that. Then what I want you to do for classroom specific is write the simple goals. So really short, simple goals. Each day we will have 4 breathing breaks throughout the day. You know, you could even do it in infant, even though the babies aren't paying attention to how we're breathing. Infant teachers need to breathe too, right? So write some short, simple goals. 4 times a day we're going to be doing breathing exercises. How are you going to call it out with the staff, with the team, with the students? Listen to what she said in the beginning of the podcast about that. So you're just going to tell them 4 times a day. Even if you want, break the times out. Be really good if you did it here, 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 and here. Also, what you're all calling it. And then I want you to go to the classroom and I want you to observe them in action or not in action, because that's our role, right? We're not going to go in there and say, oh, you're a failure because you're not putting breathing in. We're going to go in there and say how important breathing is and list out what Prerna said about the breathing. And then talk to them about, okay, well, why are you having trouble adding this at 10, I'm just making it up, 10 o'clock, or during morning free play. You could be a little bit more free with that. Talk about where they're struggling and help them implement it and then see the benefits. So you're supporting and you're praising them throughout this process, right? And then I would bring it to staff meeting and make it part of your staff meetings. Okay, like we're implementing the breathing. How is that going? Give me some feedback on that. And you're going to get feedback that it didn't work or it did work. And so talk through it. Why isn't it working? And give them tools to help them implement it. Really talk through, I even think on the behavior side, if she's given you, like I loved the whole circle thing, like how they can sit wherever they want, and it just changes the dynamic of the classroom, right? And talk about the successes and the failures. And when you talk about the failures in the classroom, like, oh, this isn't really working yet, this isn't working yet, brainstorm. I believe that when a group of people, especially a team, come together and brainstorm, it sparks some energy and it sparks some excitement. You get new information, you get support, you come together on a team on a common goal. And so try that. Discuss it at a staff meeting, and not just one. Keep talking about it. If you want this to be part of your child care center and part of who you are, even think about what a great selling feature that is to parents. And you can talk about that on your website and your tours. You want this to be who you are, part of your community. So it needs to be part of your staff meetings throughout the entire year. And then I want you to celebrate your successes. Celebrate them in the group, in your staff meetings. Celebrate them in writing by writing a note to a teacher and saying, you really took this breathing technique that we're using in our school now, and you made it so a part of your small community in your classroom. Talk about a behavior issue that Prerna and Together We Grow gave you, and celebrate the success when you see success, even if it's like the tiniest bit of success. We do that with the kids. Think about the kids when we have a problem with a child that they're struggling with something, and maybe you put in place a sticker chart or something reward to really show them, celebrate their success at overcoming something. We need to do that with our teachers too. And we need to show them success because they helped a student see success. So write a note. You can pull them in the office and talk to them and praise them at a staff meeting. I mean, praising people in front of their teammates is always a great thing. It shows such great leadership on your part. So I hope you love Prerna as much as I did. She's so helpful, and I really enjoyed getting to know her. I want you to head over to her website, Together We Grow. She has a great Facebook page, Together We Grow, on that. And she shares resources. She shares where she's speaking, and connect with her. If you're having a classroom that is struggling really badly right now, that's just adding to the stress of the teachers, right? You're stressed, they're stressed, the kid, everyone's stressed. Reach out to Prerna and see how her membership can help you with your classroom. I love some of the things she shared on there that, imagine every week if the lead teacher and you could talk to Prerna through a problem. She gives you resources, you go implement them, you come back the next week, either give an update, she gives you some tweaks you can do, and then you're going to eventually get to a point where the behaviors are going to cease, the children's going to show success, and the teacher's going to get less stressed, right? And she's going to learn a new skill. Like, how great is that? So let me know in the show notes what you think of this episode. If you could give the podcast a rating, I would love that. And I hope that this helps you, because when I met her, I knew I had to have her on this podcast and share her with you. So have an awesome week, and I will talk to you next week. Bye, everybody. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you know another director who might benefit from listening, please share the link to my podcast. I love connecting with directors and sharing business tips to make their lives easier too. The show notes below have all the links from the podcast and my social media connections. I'd love you to tell me how I'm doing by rating the show or leaving a comment. Hope you have a great week. I'll be cheering you on. Thank you for joining us on today's episode of the Directors Club. We hope you found tips, tools, and strategies valuable for your childcare center. To access even more resources and take your center to new heights, visit our website at thedirectorsclub.net. There you'll find a wealth of exclusive content, training programs, and support tailored specifically to childcare center owners and directors. Don't miss out on this opportunity to unlock your center's full potential. Remember, success starts here at the Directors Club.